150 million. That's not just the number of how many Luigi content games are on the eShop. It's also the number of how many Nintendo Switches have currently sold. And this just in, Sony has just found 10 million more PlayStation 2s that have sold. This happens every time Nintendo gets this close to beating the PlayStation 2 sales numbers, and Sony's like, oops, did we say 160 million? Oh, we meant a bazillion. You're never gonna catch us, Nintendo. Why don't you just give up? Alongside all those consoles sold, we also had a staggering amount of video games released. I'm pretty sure I can confidently say the Nintendo Switch has probably the best video game library in history, with literally thousands of games from third party to second party to first party to I'm having a party. Everybody's invited. Who wants first on the Xbox pinata? I want to figure out what is the 10 best first-party games on Nintendo Switch. So using a tier list, which I found on Tier Maker, I didn't make it, and I'm hoping nothing is missing. I am going to, in real time right now, I have no idea what the answer is going to be, figure out what the 10 best games on Switch are. But so this is going to be the actual top 10 Switch games and my top 10 Switch games. But we'll start with the actual 10. Also, I'm not including Metroid and Pokemon ZA. I really debated waiting to make this video until those games released, but let's be real here. Those are going to be seen as Switch 2 games, right? So I think now is a perfectly fine time to do this. These are all these right here. You see all these? These are the games that defined the Switch's era. These are the games that contributed to that 150 million. These were the real ones, the ones that were here from the start, not you fake Metroid coming along at the last second to steal all the glory. I'm faffing. Let's do this. Oh, okay. I don't think there's even a question here. Zelda Breath of the Wild. This game kicked off the Switch's launch. It was there day one, and it contributed to the Nintendo Switch having one of the best console launches of all time, despite it being a cross-release on Wii U. 30 million something copies sold of this game, and easily not only one of the best Zeldas, if not the best, not only one of the best open-world action RPGs, but also one of the best games, if not the best game that you can play on the toilet. I'm being goofy. I mean, what's there even to say? Definitely top 10. Yeah. Snipper clips should have been the pack-in Switch game. There's so many innovative gimmicks with this console, and really showing them off and highlighting them with a pack-in free game that you get just by buying the console would have been a fantastic idea, and really something like Snipper clips could have been that. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. It clearly is a lot of people's favorites. With something like 60 million copies sold, it is the best-selling Switch game, and as I said in my last video, it's not even a Switch game. It's a Wii U game. This is a top 10 for sure. Arms goes here. Splatoon 2 is a pretty good game. I'll put it in A, but whenever we get to Splatoon 3, it's a serious contender for top 10. I don't know if it's gonna make it. Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle. It's almost second party, really, I suppose. Made by Ubisoft, they gave Mario a gun. Nintendo took a look at Shadow the Hedgehog and thought, what are we doing wrong? I think I'm gonna put it in A tier. Pokken Tournament and Fire Emblem Warriors. I don't want to even talk about them. No, I'm kidding. Mario Odyssey, whip. I don't want to lose my Nintendo Gamer card, but I'm also not super into Mario. For some reason, Odyssey slapped for me. Easily my favorite platformer, and definitely a top 10. Oh boy. It's been a long 8 years, hasn't it, folks? I think we can agree that, my biases aside, this was never hitting the top 10. If anything, that would be 1 or 3. It's definitely better than games like ARMS. I can't do it. I can't do it. I was trying. It's a high B. Here's what I appreciate. I appreciate what Monolith Studios does for Nintendo. This game is a technical marvel on the console. I might hate it, but look at this. Like, this game is gorgeous. Nintendo's own Game Freak is out here doing this. Huh? Can we get Monolith Studios making the next Pokemon, please? Kirby and Hyrule, we can slap those down at C. I don't think anyone has an issue with that. The Labos, I'm gonna F them to F tier. You get them a little wet and they're like soggy cereal. It's just gross. The VR one was pretty cool, actually. I'll put the VR one slightly higher in C. Tropical Freeze, I'm gonna actually give that an S tier. One of the best 2D platformers. Oh, do you guys remember Pokemon Quest? That was a wacky one. I'll give it a C. Toad's Treasure Tracker, I'll give it a B. Mario Tennis Aces, that's before the sports games started getting really rough. The tennis one at least had some kind of single player attempt, but then they made the golf one and its campaign was just weird and boring. And then the Mario Strikers, which honestly might be not only the most disappointing sports game on the console, but the most disappointing Mario game for sure. I'm gonna put Tennis Aces in B. I actually like Torna quite a lot. I feel like it fixed a lot of issues that I had with the original Xenoblade. I think it would be insane to put it higher than the original. So that's what I'm gonna do. It's still in B, but it's higher in the B, okay? The Super Mario Party sucked. I hated this game. So plain, so boring, so uncreative, so unoriginal, so uninspired. I have a lot of disdain for this game. I almost want to put it in F, but I'm gonna slap it in C because it's still a Mario Party game and they can only get so bad, but I did not like it. I actually really liked Pokemon Let's Go. They dumbed down the catching mechanic and they tried to introduce the little Pokeball that comes with the game, and that was a little silly considering it was a remake of Pokemon like Yellow, which is one of the best Pokemon games, and getting a remake of it was awesome, but then having the controls changed to like baby mode definitely wasn't awesome. But the reskinned visuals were fantastic. Like, I honestly think this is the best, most well done from a visual standpoint Pokemon remake we've had. I'm gonna give it an A. That might be a controversial one, but I don't care. Kim and I had a lot of fun playing those together. I don't even know what to say about you beautiful, beautiful little Sakurai. I want to kiss you. That's like not only in the top 10, that's number 1. Smash Brothers did so much this generation. Think about every Nintendo Direct we had for the first 5 years of this console. The most exciting thing were the Smash Brother character reveals. I still to this day have it burned in my brain, the image of the New York Nintendo store when Banjo-Kazooie was revealed to be coming to Smash, and that crowd erupted into pure nerd ecstasy. On top of that, the actual gameplay was perfected. The gameplay that Sakurai started on the N64, which was fantastic even back then, has been working up to this, and I don't think there's any getting better than this. It is so fine-tuned. The way that every character cooperates and integrates with every other character, and they just work together without the game blowing up and breaking, will always blow my mind of how good Sakurai is as a developer. Mario Brothers U Deluxe. This was the last 2D Mario platformer in that era of Nintendo just phoning this in. They had a formula that was working, and they worked, and they sold really well, and Nintendo just kept reskinning and re-releasing that same game over and over and over and over and over again with no creativity. And then Mario Wonder happens, and suddenly everybody realizes what 2D Mario platformers could be. We're not even talking about Mario Wonder right now. We're talking about this stinky poo-poo, and by the way, I almost want to say F because it's a Wii U game, but I'll give it a C. Yoshi's Crafted World, I played it with Kim. It was a lot of fun. It's way too easy. Mario Maker 2 is incredible, and I'm going to give it an S. I don't think it can be a top 10 when it's a game that you have to make. You know what I mean? There's a single player adventure you go through and you play these created levels, but it's essentially the whole point is you make the game. I can't give that a top 10. I'm having a guttural reaction to so many of these. I look at them and I go, oh man, I had so much fun with 3 houses, but this was taking Fire Emblem and like merging it with Persona, which was perfect for me. I'm gonna give it a very, very high S. I'm gonna slap this Kirby in C. Tetris 99 was a lot of fun. I might even give it an A. I have done tier lists before. This time is different because I have an ultimate goal of trying to find the top 10, but I'm looking at something like Link's Awakening now, years after it released. A game that released with the Switch Lite. if I remember correctly, and I do. I'm gonna give it an A. I loved Ring Fit. The actual concept and idea and even execution of Ring Fit is really well done. To incorporate those fitness workout movements into a battle RPG game is a really smart idea. I'm tempted to maybe even give it an S just for how great it is in execution, but I'll give it an A. Luigi's Mansion 3, it was really fun, but honestly, it's a little bit forgettable. I remember sucking a lot, like literally like sucking ghosts. Oh, and there's Gooigi, was the whole gimmick of this one where there's two of you. I don't know if this is just me, but this game's quite forgettable. Horrible to say because I remember really enjoying it at the time, but I have fleeting memories of actually playing it. That said, it's definitely an A tier. Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games, I actually didn't play it. That's actually the first one I haven't played. What do you say? Sword and Shield? Sword and Shield was that first little tiptoe into an open world Pokemon game. You had the traditional linear Pokemon game, but then you had the wild areas, and those were honestly my favorite part of the game. I collected every Pokemon because that's what you're supposed to do. Have you not heard the song? Honestly, these games are pretty great. I want to give them an A. Brain Training, it's Brain Training. Fire Emblem Encore, I gotta be honest, I didn't like it on Wii U and I didn't like it on Switch. I'm just gonna give it a C. Mystery Dungeon, I also didn't really like this. Oh, I'm doing it again. I'm looking at one and going, oh, Animal Crossing. Also one of those games that helped propel the Switch to its insane levels of success that it's at now. We got hit with this pandemic where we all had to stay inside, lock our doors, and wear masks. And we all did that. Didn't we? I did it. For those 2 years of absolute boredom, there was one perfectly timed, which was definitely on accident, but still perfectly timed release of Animal Crossing, where you could literally go outside virtually, I guess not literally, and go to an island, start a whole new life in a game that you can literally sink hours and hours into. A cozy game that anybody can pick up and play. Animal Crossing is a revelation. One of my most played games on the console. I want to say I logged at least a couple hundred hours. Kim has over 1,000. And it was such a fun game to get to play alongside her. It is absolutely a top 10 without question. I mean this in all sincerity, but after the pushback, the drama, after my Xenoblade 2 review of a lot of people who never played Xenoblade before picking one up on the Switch for the first time and not understanding why I didn't like it until Xenoblade 1 Definitive Edition released on the console, where people actually turned around. It wasn't everybody playing the first one for the first time and realizing how much better it is than the second one. It is funny to me that Torna corrected a lot of the mistakes that the base game made and actually changed the way the combat worked. And then the third game went back to the same gameplay style as the first game and took out all the things I hated about the second game. Almost like those things sucked. Sorry about that. That's an A. I'm gonna put Clubhouse 51 at A tier just because it's Scott the Waz's favorite game, and if he happens to be watching this video, I don't want him to hate me. I don't know if anyone remembers Jump Rope Challenge, but it was actually a Nintendo-made exclusive game where you just get the Joy-Con and you jump rope. Another game I had a lot of pushback when I reviewed was Paper Mario Origami King. Origami King had that weird wheel thing, and you had to do like math and critical. I hated it. I'll give it a B because it's not the worst thing in the world. I just don't like it. This was so strange. They released it in celebration of Mario's 35th birthday. I'm pretty sure it was 35th. And then they said, it's limited time only. Buy it while you can. So they had scalpers running at the Best Buy and GameStop buying up as many copies of this game as possible just in case it goes off the shelves one day. And it did. I think for the fact that it's just 3 older games and Nintendo took it away from us, I can't rate it too high. I'll give it a B. Don't care. I'll give it a B. I'm gonna give a B to Pikmin 3 because it rhymes and I want to just move on. I'm gonna die on the Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity hill. That game slaps. It's a prequel to Breath of the Wild. It has incredible cutscenes, great voice acting. They tell so much more story in this game than any other Zelda game does, and it's done very cinematically. And on top of that, the gameplay is a lot of fun. It's a Hyrule Warriors style hack and slash with so many different characters and abilities. If you didn't play it, I do really recommend it. We have Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury. The Bowser's Fury add-on is what made this re-release what it was. I'm gonna give it an S, actually. I really enjoyed Pokemon Snap. It's so silly. It's just an on-rails game where you take pictures of Pokemon. It's weirdly addictive for such a silly, simple premise. I did not play these Famicom Detective Club games. Miitopia was okay. Game Builder Garage, it's a C. Mario Golf, it's gotta be B. I hope the future of Mario sports games for the Switch 2 have something a little bit more meaty to sink our teeth into and to keep us coming back. Maybe a more robust online. Nintendo really sucked with online this generation, and games like this could really benefit from it. I can't put Skyward Sword that high. I appreciate that they reinvented the controls so you could actually play this game with a regular controller, even if it was a bit clunky. I don't hate the game, but I can't put it any higher than a B. Both the WarioWare games are like 2 hours long. Metroid Dread, definitely the best, in my opinion, 2D Metroid game we've ever had. So stylistic. I loved the cutscenes and the sliding, and then those Emmy rooms were so terrifyingly daunting. There's so much to love about this game that it's definitely an S tier. Mario Party Superstars is easily getting thrown into that A tier. There was no original content, but that's what made it good, because it was old Mario Party the way it should be. I got hair in my mouth. I'm not pretending to choke looking at this disgusting visual. I got a hair in my mouth at the same time. Is that serendipitous? Does that say all it needs to? Yes. I didn't play Big Brain Academy. When I started playing Arceus and I threw that Pokeball in real time in an open world and caught a Pokemon, I almost wept. I think I did even shed a tear. And you need to understand it's because it's everything I've been screaming at Game Freak, but also wanting since I was a little kid to play a Pokemon game, an open world Pokemon game that evolved, ironically, with video games. Like literally, these Red and Blue games, these originals, that's what we were playing up to Sword and Shield. Why did it never evolve? That's the series' whole thing is evolving. But Arceus did it. Arceus gave it to me. And I think it was also a test. It was Game Freak making this offshoot Pokemon game that didn't mess up the release schedule of the traditional games that they were so scared of messing with because fans would riot in the streets. And they did this side thing with this mechanic, and turned out people loved it. Sadly, with Scarlet and Violet, they did away with it. I mean, they kind of did like a weird mesh. It doesn't matter. Arceus did things to my heart and my soul, and for that, I'm very close to giving it an S tier. It's just the game itself at its core was very basic. You had one town, and then you went out into little open world areas and caught Pokemon, and then came back to that one town. It could have been fleshed out a lot more. I'm hoping Pokemon Z and A is that S tier game. You know, when I went into this, one game was in my brain, and that was Kirby Forgotten Land. Looking at it now, I'm still like, is this a top 10? I also, like Metroid Dread, think it's dangerously close. It is a very creative 3D platformer, and we already have Mario Odyssey, and I do think Mario Odyssey is a much better 3D platformer. And I do think it's different enough from Odyssey to get a spot. For now, I'm gonna put it in S. This is my favorite Kirby game. Oh, Nintendo Switch Sports could have been so much more. They tried supporting it with some extra games releasing later, but who's going back to Switch Sports to play soccer for a little bit? It's a B. Oh, I already talked about this game. This little piece of garbage. This one sucked. And honestly, I'm gonna put it in F for flip off. I didn't like Fire Emblem Warriors very much. I have a whole script for Xenoblade 3 written. I even filmed it at one point. I think I lost the footage. I wanted to make a review on that game because I really did love it so much, but it took like 80 hours to finish it. And by the time I was done, I didn't think there was a point making a whole video. I felt like everybody had moved on. You know how the internet is. But I have to say, this was one of my favorite games on the console for so many reasons that I don't even want to get into because I have a whole review that maybe one day I'll share with you guys. But if you haven't played it, I highly recommend it. it. Kirby's Dream Buffet was a weird free-to-play microtransaction Kirby, and I'm gonna give that an F too. I did not like that game. I never played Advance Wars on the Switch. Sparks of Hope was not nearly as good as the first Mario Rabbids game. Fire Emblem Engage, I didn't like the changes. It's a personal thing. I'm gonna give it a C, and I'm gonna hear about that later. I mean, you can't hate Pikmin. I'm just gonna throw them in B. Pikmin 4, easily the best Pikmin we've had. Arlo wet himself. I'm gonna go S tier. You know why I'm gonna S tier? Because not only is Pikmin 4 a whole new game in itself, there was like an Olimar mode that was a whole nother game. It was like a whole nother Pikmin game within a Pikmin game. It was crazy. F-Zero 99 was probably the weakest of all the 99s. I'm gonna go B. Detective Pikachu, completely phoned in game. Never played Code Veronica. I never played the Mario Donkey Kong verse. I just had no interest. Luigi's Mansion 2 was not a strong installment in the series. I know a lot of people liked it. It was just very different from 1 and then also different from 3. C for The Shape of a Half Moon. Didn't play MEO. Let's go back to Splatoon 3, and now I've had some time to think about it. This is also very close to a top 10 in my opinion. So much fun. The only thing I hate about Splatoon 3, pretty quickly as you start leveling up in ranks, it gets real sweaty, and you just kind of want to have fun. You want to grab a bucket and splash sometimes. You want to grab a roller and roll squish an enemy. That is also me saying that I'm just not good. That said, you also take into account the single player mode, and I loved the single player adventure of 3. They also added the Side Order DLC, which was a rogue-like style game where you go through floors, completing challenges, and then unlocking and equipping abilities, and that was sick. This game offers so much content. That is definitely an S tier experience. Oh my god. You know, for how much I meme on Scarlet and Violet for the way they look and the way they perform and the way that they also are fun. They are fun. I mean, at their core, it's still Pokemon. But visually and performance-wise, it was honestly that bad that it ruined the experience for me. I almost would have preferred it didn't go this open world if the trade-off was this. That makes it hard for me to place it. I'm probably also gonna put them in A. The bones of a game is here, but the execution is so poor that they can't go any higher. Metroid Prime Remastered is so underappreciated because Nintendo called it a remaster and not a remake. It's this weird gray middle area where they completely rebuilt the game from ground up. Like every asset, every shadow, every lighting, the whole game is remade better. Whatever, it's going in A. Another Kirby game that we can just throw in, people liked this one, right? I'll give it a B. I think it's the one people liked. Everybody 1-2 Switch is an F. Mario, Wario, Where is another hour-long C. I don't know what to do about Tears of the Kingdom. I'm gonna level with you. I really don't know. It's such a weird thing to have to place at this point because it's essentially Breath of the Wild, but better. It's hard because Breath of the Wild is like the game. That was the first time we experienced the world of Breath of the Wild, the reimagining of Zelda. It was the launch title. It's the one that made us fall in love with this reimagining of Zelda, right? And then you have Tears of the Kingdom come along, and it does that same game, but better. It adds so much to the game. It adds an overworld and an underworld. It adds extra story, it adds extra depth, and it adds a whole new gameplay gimmick with being able to fuse and create whatever you want to interact with the world of Breath of the Wild, but in a way like never before. It is technically, definitely, better than Breath of the Wild, but Breath of the Wild can't go less than top 10 because Breath of the Wild, it is Tears of the Kingdom. I mean, like, it is. You can't have one without the other. The thing is, it's not that I'm putting Tears of the Kingdom in as well as Breath of the Wild. It's more like I'm putting Breath of the Wild in as well as Tears of the Kingdom. Because Tears is the one that deserves the spot. Tears is the one that has everything and more. It is technically the better game, and if you could only do one, it would have to be that one. But Breath of the Wild can't go any less because of what it did for the Switch. This is the best 10 Switch games, and you can't have that top 10 without Breath of the Wild. You just can't. So I have convinced myself both Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild are going in the top 10. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Zelda guy and I love Zelda. That's honestly how I feel. And to prove that, I'm going to look at Mario Wonder next. The reimagining I've wanted out of the 2D Mario series for literally the better side of a decade is essentially the Breath of the Wild of the 2D Mario franchise. Mario Wonder wasn't my favorite game. I don't love 2D platformers as much as I love 3D platformers, but having said that, even with Mario Wonder not being one of my favorite games, I can still see it for what it is, and I think it's definitely the best 2D platformer on the system. Besides any of that, I think that game does deserve to be in top 10. I'm very confident in that. Love to see Super Mario RPG back again. I have a hard time putting that in A for some reason. I don't know why I'm second guessing that. I almost want to put it in B, but I'm gonna put it in A. I'll be fair, I played the demo of Peach and I did not like it. I'm gonna just say haven't played it. Yeah, a large reason why I was debating Mario RPG is because in the back of my head, I was thinking of Thousand Year Door, which is a much better Mario remaster, because the game's much better. This is my favorite Mario RPG, and we keep getting these, in my opinion, very average to terrible Paper Mario games. Origami King was horrible. It just was. It didn't have the fun writing or personality of Color Splash, and it had a worse battle mechanic. To then get the best Paper Mario, Thousand Year Door, to show off what this series could be, and that could be is just going back to being a traditional RPG with traditional RPG mechanics. I don't know why they're trying to get so weird and wacky with it. Nintendo World Championships, I'll give it a B. It's fine. Yeah, I want to skip Zelda for a second. Mario Party Jamboree. I think I've said so much about Mario Party in this video already. Oh, is this a top 10? I did not expect this. That's why I did this as a tier list, by the way, because I knew unless I physically placed all the games where I felt like they needed to be on a tier list, I didn't even know how I would begin to just pick 10 to be the best. And I am looking at this tier list right now, and even my top 10, and a Mario Party game would fit so snug up here. And Jamboree is the best Mario Party ever. The best part about Jamboree is it's all new content, whole new maps, all new abilities. The way the buddies work now adds so much drama into the game. Mario Party Jamboree is entering our top 10, baby. You love to see it. What an underdog story. I did not expect this. I briefly talked about Echoes of Wisdom. I mentioned that when the game first came out, I played like half of the game in one sitting, like 15 hours or something. Really loved it. And then I made a first impressions video gushing about how good and creative it was and how innovative the gameplay felt. And then I went on to finish the back half of the game, and my huge amount of love for it diminished just a little bit. Like not a lot, but it was very repetitive on the back half. It didn't really introduce any new concepts, and it did feel like the game was dragging its feet by the final few hours. I'll definitely give that an A and put it right next to Link's Awakening. I think both of those are about the same level of quality. I was shocked at how many people love Mario and Luigi Brothership, like legitimately love it, and thought that I was insane for my review. People saying that I was desperate for clicks. I saw comments on Twitter that I was just trying to pay my bills with clickbait. I was legitimately shocked at IGN's reception of their review. They gave it a 5 out of 10, a score that I really feel like it deserves, and everybody clowned on them. And I wanted to kind of break down what actually makes this game a 5 out of 10. I think after all the feedback that I got, the one thing I just want to pose to you guys, if Mario and Luigi Brothership was the exact same game that it is now, don't change anything, but it wasn't Nintendo released, and Mario and Luigi weren't Mario and Luigi. They were just some random characters you've never seen before. Would you have any interest in this game? Would anyone be talking about it? Would anyone be raving about it? Would anyone be giving it 8s, 9s, or even 10 out of 10s if it wasn't a Mario skinned game? And you could say, yes, that's still a 10 out of 10 game, then okay, I concede. I don't know what else to say to you or to do. A low C for the high C's. Are we missing anything? Best Nintendo Switch exclusives. Let me just make sure nothing is missing. Oh, Astral Chain's not on here. Just slap it in A. It's such a great hack and slash. I highly recommend playing it. Bayonetta 3's not on here? Did whoever make this list have an issue with Platinum Games? Bayonetta 3 is another A. You should play the Bayonetta series. It's great. Oh, the Marvel Ultimate Alliance game isn't on here either. Put it in C, Zach. Just throw it. Just stick it. Just hit down in C. Ooh, this is tough. Oh, what am I gonna do? We got Metroid, Splatoon 3, and Forgotten Land. I'm almost wondering if Mario Maker 2 goes up there. No, I can't. I can't do Mario Maker 2. Can I? No. I gotta do Splatoon 3. I gotta do Splatoon 3. It's got so much content. Now, I'm really debating between Forgotten Land and then Metroid Dread. Why did I put Arceus in A? Am I gonna do this right now? Let me just see how this looks. Oh, that looks good, doesn't it? Because then it puts a Pokemon up there as well. And then Pokemon fans won't be mad at me. Arceus was sick. Made me cry a little. It's bigger and more expansive than Metroid Dread. And it's Pokemon. And I did spend a lot of hours catching everything. And it's better than Scarlet and Violet, honestly. Why did I have it in A? I think I said that it was like, you had the little town and then the little extra areas. Screw that. That's an S. That's an S tier game for sure. It's funny because I said I was going to rank the top 10 best games unbiasedly. And then I was going to do my personal top 10. I don't see any difference. Unbiasedly and biasedly, I think this is the top 10. I don't know if what that says about me. Maybe I'm just perfect. But I honestly think for what these games did for the console, for what these games did for their own genres and their own franchises, and just how great these games are, these are the best 10 games that we got on the Nintendo Switch throughout its 150 million selling 8-year tenure. I feel very confident in that. I think any of these S-tier games could bump up there as well, depending on who you are. I can't wait 10 years from now to do this video again, but with the Switch 2's library, and to reflect on what experiences we got through that decade. I can only imagine what Mario and Zelda is going to look like 10 years from now, let alone all these other franchises and hopefully some new IPs. Let me know what you think though. If this is all wrong, you can tell me. I won't agree with you, but you can tell me. Leave your comments down below, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.